What if the Ark of the Covenant isn't in Jerusalem? What if it proves Jesus was African? They say it's lost forever, a myth swallowed by time. But what if it's hidden in a kingdom no empire could break? Not Vatican's gilded halls, not Israel's ancient stones, Ethiopia, where Solomon's heirs rule, where Black Jesus reigns divine. This truth threatens empires. The West erased it, fearing its power. Ethiopia guards a prophecy, unbroken, fierce, eternal. Kings of Solomon's blood walk its lands. Sacred secrets pulse in its heart. Will you seek the Ark's truth, or let their lies bury it again? Dare to uncover what they hid. Step into the prophecy they dread. Can a queen's fearless heart rewrite the destiny of empires? Ages ago, a fierce African queen, cloaked in wisdom and fire, braved endless deserts to confront a king, igniting a legacy the West fought tooth and nail to erase. In the sacred verses of 1 Kings 10, the Queen of Sheba, radiant with intellect and power, sets forth from Ethiopia's emerald highlands. Her caravan, laden with shimmering gold, fragrant frankincense, and rare spices, weaves through scorching sands to Jerusalem. There, Solomon, God's anointed king, reigns in unparalleled splendor, his wisdom a blazing beacon of divine favor. Sheba's piercing questions probe his intellect. Solomon's responses shimmer with heavenly insight. Their connection transcends mere diplomacy. A sacred union sparks, destined to reshape the course of history. The Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's eternal chronicle, unveils their hidden truth. Sheba returns to her kingdom bearing Solomon's child, Menelik IV, a prince of pure African royal blood, heir to a divine promise that would echo through the ages. But a divine mission was stirring in the shadows. Menelik, now a bold young warrior, feels the call of his father's city pulsing in his veins. He crosses treacherous deserts to Jerusalem, his heart ablaze with purpose, his steps guided by an unseen hand. Solomon welcomes him as his true heir, revealing the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred chest pulsing with God's radiant light, the very embodiment of his eternal covenant with humanity. Menelik, hearing a heavenly voice, vows to protect this holy relic with his life. With divine blessing, he leads the Ark to Ethiopia, its brilliance cutting through jagged mountains, illuminating rivers, a celestial beacon guiding his perilous path. Ethiopia becomes its eternal sanctuary, a new Zion chosen to guard God's sacred promise. But a shadow of deceit was creeping across the world. The West buried this story, tearing it from their scriptures, trembling at its power to rewrite their carefully crafted history. Why silence Menelik's triumph? Who fears the truth of Black Jesus, woven into Solomon's African bloodline? This legacy threatens empires, shakes their gilded thrones. The Kebra Nagast sings of Menelik's journey, a prince who carried God's relic to a land no conqueror could ever break. Sheba's wisdom, Solomon's divine seed, and Menelik's unyielding courage forged Ethiopia's sacred destiny, a destiny that burns bright in the hearts of its people. The Ark's light still glows there, guarded by a nation that never bowed to foreign rule. But the West's silence screams louder than their lies. They erased Menelik's name, hid the African roots of a divine bloodline that flows through Ethiopia's veins. Why? Because this truth links Black Jesus to Solomon's heirs, a revelation that could shatter their fragile narratives. But a greater purpose was unfolding across the ages. The Ark's journey was no mere trek. It was a prophecy fulfilled, etched in the stars. The Kebra Nagast tells of miracles that marked Menelik's path. Rivers parted, skies blazed with divine fire as the Ark moved to Ethiopia. Chosen as Zion's heir, Ethiopia became God's unyielding stronghold, a fortress of faith. The West dismissed it as myth, but Ethiopia stands firm, its people unwavering in their truth. Why fear this story? Because it proves Black Jesus walked among Solomon's kin, his African blood a testament to a legacy they could never control. The Kebra Nagast is a blade, cutting through centuries of lies. Its words burn with Menelik's mission, Sheba's enduring legacy, and Solomon's divine seed. Ethiopia held this truth while the West rewrote their scriptures, fearing the Ark's power, its tie to an African king, its unbreakable link to Black Jesus. But another twist was brewing in the heart of history. Menelik didn't just carry a relic, he carried God's eternal promise. The Ark's light guided him, a divine compass through perilous lands, a sign of heaven's favor. Ethiopia, unlike any nation, stood as Zion's keeper, its kings tracing their line to Solomon and Sheba through centuries of trials. The West's silence wasn't ignorance. It was a calculated strategy. They knew this story could awaken the world to Black Jesus, to an African lineage that outshone their thrones. Why erase Menelek's name? Because his blood, his deed, his arc point to a Messiah they could never claim. But a new dawn was breaking over Ethiopia's highlands. The Kebra Nagast's pages pulse with Ethiopia's pride, a pride that no empire could extinguish. But a new dawn was breaking over Ethiopia's highlands. Menelek's journey wasn't a quiet pilgrimage, it was a revolution, a defiance of those who sought to bury the truth. The ark's divine glow lit his way, a radiant sign that God chose Ethiopia as his sanctuary. The West's fear wasn't just about a relic, it was about a people who dared to preserve the truth against all odds. Sheba's wisdom birthed a king, Solomon's blood fueled a prophecy, Menelek's courage shook the heavens. Why does this terrify them? Because Black Jesus, tied to this sacred line, challenges their every lie. The ark's truth waits in Ethiopia, unguarded by doubt, unbroken by time. Ethiopia's kings, heirs of Solomon, carried this legacy through centuries, their blood a living testament to a divine plan. The West historians mocked, calling it fable, but Ethiopia's faith never wavered. The Kebra Nagast isn't just a story, it's a call to awaken, a summons to those who seek truth. Menelek's mission was a bold defiance, a declaration that Africa held God's covenant in its heart. Why did they hide this? Because Black Jesus, born of this bloodline, threatens their control, his African roots a beacon for the oppressed. The ark's light still shines in Ethiopia, a guiding star for those who dare to seek. But a final challenge remains. Why was this story buried in shadows? Who trembles at the truth of Black Jesus, tied to Solomon's African line? This legacy defies empires, shakes their very foundations. Will you let it fade into oblivion or seize its blazing secrets? Uncover the truth they buried or let their lies steal it forever? What if a sacred text could shatter the foundations of empires? The Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's hidden chronicle, blazes with truths Rome dreaded, truths they sought to bury in ashes forever. Like the forbidden book of Enoch, it stands as a divine warning, a celestial map, but only Ethiopia, unbowed by conquerors, dared to preserve its sacred fire. This ancient manuscript, pulsing with divine power, tells of Menelik I, son of Solomon and Sheba, who carried the Ark of the Covenant to a land no empire could claim. Guided by heaven's radiant light, Menelik transformed Ethiopia into the second Zion, a fortress of God's eternal promise. The Kebra Nagast is more than a story. It's a prophecy, foretelling a king who will rise from Africa's royal blood to restore justice to a broken world. Rome quaked at its power, torching its traces to silence its voice. Why? Because it binds Black Jesus to Solomon's African lineage, a truth that could unravel their thrones. Will you dare to unearth its secrets or let their lies smother it forever? But a divine journey was igniting. The Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's sacred chronicle, radiates with the saga of Menelik I, a prince of pure African royal blood, chosen by God to safeguard his covenant. Born of Sheba's piercing wisdom and Solomon's divine seed, Menelik grew in Ethiopia's verdant highlands, his soul drawn to Jerusalem's holy city. The Kebra Nagast unveils his mission. With Israel's wise elders at his side, he carried the Ark of the Covenant, a holy chest ablaze with God's celestial light. Guided by divine will, Menelik's path was etched with miracles. Rivers parted, mountains trembled, and the Ark's glow illuminated treacherous lands. Ethiopia welcomed the Ark, becoming the second Zion, a new sanctuary for God's eternal promise. But a shadow of fear was creeping across empires. Rome, with its iron fist, saw the Kebra Nagast as a mortal threat. Its words tied Black Jesus to Solomon's African line, a truth too potent to endure. They burned its echoes, erased its truths, fearing a prophecy of a king who would restore justice. Why hide this chronicle? Who dreads its power to rewrite history? The Kebra Nagast stands as Ethiopia's unyielding defiance, a testament to a people who never knelt. Its pages pulse with Menelik's triumph, a prince who carried God's relic to a land no empire could conquer. Ethiopia, chosen by heaven, became the guardian of a divine legacy, its heart beating with the Ark's sacred fire. But a deeper truth was stirring in the winds. The Kebra Nagast is no mere record. It's a call to awaken, a summons to those who seek truth. It tells of Menelik's journey, supported by Israel's elders, who saw in him a divine purpose. The ark, glowing with celestial fire, moved under heaven's protection, its light a beacon for Ethiopia's destiny. This wasn't a simple transfer. It was a prophecy fulfilled, proclaiming Ethiopia as Zion's heir. Rome's historians scoffed, branding it myth, but Ethiopia's faith never faltered. Why fear this text? Because it proves Black Jesus walked among Solomon's kin, his African blood a challenge to their lies. The Kebra Nagast is a sword, slicing through centuries of deception. Its words burn with Ethiopia's pride, a pride no empire could extinguish. But a new challenge was brewing in the heart of history. Menelik's mission was a revolution, a bold defiance of those who sought to bury the truth. The Kebra Nagast tells of his courage, his divine guidance, and the miracles that marked his path, skies ablaze, rivers yielding to his will. Ethiopia, unlike any nation, stood as Zion's keeper, its people guarding the ark's light through centuries of trials. Rome's silence wasn't ignorance. It was a calculated strategy. They knew this chronicle could awaken the world to Black Jesus, to an African lineage that outshone their thrones. Why erase its truths? Because Menelik's deed, his blood, his ark point to a Messiah they could never claim. The Kebra Nagast's pages pulse with Ethiopia's unyielding spirit, a spirit that no conqueror could break. But a greater purpose was unfolding across the ages. The Kebra Nagast foretells a king, a descendant of Solomon, who will rise to restore justice, a prophecy that echoes the coming of Black Jesus. Rome feared this vision, knowing it could shatter their control over history. Ethiopia, with its sacred chronicle, stood firm, its faith a fortress against their lies. Why does this terrify them? Because Black Jesus, tied to this sacred line, challenges their every narrative. The Kebra Nagast is a beacon, guiding those who seek truth through the darkness. Its words, like Enoch's, are a divine map, leading to Ethiopia's heart, where the ark's light still burns. Menelik's mission was a testament to a people who preserved God's promise against all odds. But a final reckoning was approaching. The ark's radiance still shines in Ethiopia, unguarded by doubt, unbroken by time. The Kebra Nagast isn't just a text. It's a call to rise, a summons to those who dare to challenge empires. Ethiopia's kings, heirs of Solomon, carried this legacy through centuries, their blood a living testament to a divine plan. Rome's historians mocked, calling it fable, but Ethiopia's faith never wavered. Why did they burn this truth? Because Black Jesus, born of this bloodline, threatens their dominion, his African roots a beacon for the oppressed. The Kebra Nagast's power lies in its defiance, its unyielding truth that Africa held God's covenant in its heart. Menelik's journey was a revolution, a declaration that Ethiopia was chosen by God. The ark's divine glow lit his way, a radiant sign of heaven's favor. But a new dawn was breaking over Ethiopia's highlands. The Kebra Nagast's words are a fire that cannot be quenched. They tell of Menelik's divine mission, of Ethiopia's sacred role, of a prophecy that still resonates. Rome's fear wasn't just about a text. It was about a people who dared to stand tall. The Kebra Nagast is a testament to Ethiopia's strength, its refusal to bow to those who sought to erase its truth. Why does this chronicle scare them? Because it binds Black Jesus to Africa's royal blood, a truth that could awaken the world. The ark's light still burns in Ethiopia, a guiding star for those who seek justice. Ethiopia's legacy, carried by Menelik, lives on, a challenge to empires, a call to those who dare to rise. But a final challenge beckons. Why did Rome torch this truth to ashes? Who quakes at the Kebra Nagast's prophecy of Black Jesus, tied to Solomon's African line? This chronicle defies empires, shakes their very core. Will you let it fade into oblivion, or seize its blazing secrets? Dare to uncover the truth they buried, or let their lies silence it forever. Where does the Ark of the Covenant truly rest? Ethiopia holds the answer, a secret guarded by blood and faith. In the ancient city of Axum, within the humble walls of St. Mary of Zion, a small chapel cradles the Ark, watched over by a lone monk sworn to protect it for life. This sacred relic, pulsing with God's divine light, has been Ethiopia's heart for centuries. In 1938, a monk braved raging flames to save it, just as others scaled the sheer cliffs of Debre Damo to shield it from invaders, much like they preserved the Book of Enoch. Ethiopians harbor no doubt. The Ark is real, its presence a living truth. Why is only one monk allowed to gaze upon its glory? The West searches in vain, but Ethiopia stands firm, defending its sacred claim with unyielding devotion. Will you dare to explore this mystery, or let the truth remain hidden forever? But a sacred duty was unfolding. In Axum, the ancient heart of Ethiopia, the Church of St. Mary of Zion stands as a fortress of faith, its small chapel housing the Ark of the Covenant, a relic radiating divine power. A single monk chosen for life guards it, his eyes the only ones permitted to behold its celestial glow. This tradition, unbroken for centuries, binds Ethiopia to God's promise. In 1938, when war's flames threatened Axum, a monk ran through fire to save the Ark, his courage echoing the defiance of those who climbed Debre Damo's cliffs to protect it from plunderers. Like the Book of Enoch saved from Rome's torches, the Ark endures in Ethiopia's care. Ethiopians know it's real. No doubt clouds their faith. Why does only one monk see it? The West, with its endless quests, scours deserts and ruins. But Ethiopia's answer is clear. The Ark is here, guarded by blood and devotion. But a shadow of skepticism was rising. The West mocks Ethiopia's claim, calling it myth, yet they fear its truth. The Ark, tied to Black Jesus and Solomon's African line, threatens their narratives. Ethiopia's monks, silent and steadfast, protect a secret that could rewrite history. Why hide it from the world? Who dreads its divine power? The Church of St. Mary of Zion is no mere building. It's a testament to Ethiopia's unyielding spirit. But a deeper mystery was stirring. The Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's sacred chronicle, tells of Menelik Shun bringing the Ark to Axum, its light guiding him through mountains and rivers. This wasn't just a journey, it was a divine mandate, making Ethiopia the second Zion. The monk's solitude ensures the Ark's sanctity, a tradition rooted in heaven's will. Ethiopians, from kings to farmers, revere it as truth, their faith unshaken by Western doubts. Why does the West dismiss this? Because the Ark's reality in Axum points to Black Jesus, a Messiah born of Africa's royal blood. The monks of Axum are not just guardians, they're warriors of faith, defending a legacy no empire could steal. But a new challenge was brewing. In 1938, when invaders sought to seize Axum's treasures, a monk's bravery saved the Ark, just as others risked death on Debre Damo's cliffs. This isn't folklore, it's Ethiopia's history etched in sacrifice. The West's explorers, chasing relics in distant lands, ignore Axum's truth, fearing its implications. Why only one monk? Because the Ark's power is too great for mortal eyes, its light a divine secret. Ethiopia's people, bound by faith, have bled to protect it, their devotion a shield against those who would plunder their heritage. The Ark in Axum is a call to awaken, a truth that burns brighter than Rome's lies. But a greater purpose was unfolding. The Church of St. Mary of Zion stands as Ethiopia's heart, its chapel a sacred vault where the Ark rests. The monk, solitary and devoted, embodies Ethiopia's covenant with God. The West's denial is no accident. It's a strategy to bury a truth that links Black Jesus to Solomon's line. Ethiopia's faith is its strength, a fortress no empire could breach. Why fear Axum's claim? Because the Ark's presence proves Africa's divine role, a role Rome sought to erase. The Kebra Nagast prophecy lives in Axum, foretelling a king who will restore justice. But a final reckoning was approaching. The Ark's light in Axum is Ethiopia's soul, a radiant truth no invader could extinguish. The monks, like their ancestors, guard it with their lives, their sacrifice a testament to a people chosen by God. The West's silence speaks volumes. They know the Ark's truth could awaken the world. Why limit its sight to one monk? Because its power is sacred, meant for those who honor its divine call. Ethiopia's history, from Menelik to the present, is a saga of resistance, a refusal to let their heritage be stolen. The Ark in Axum is no myth. It's a living promise, a beacon for those who seek justice. Will you ignore this truth or chase its light? But a final challenge beckons. Where is the Ark of the Covenant? Axum holds the truth, guarded by Ethiopia's blood and faith. Why did the West deny it? Who fears the link to Black Jesus, born of Solomon's African line? This secret shakes empires, defies their lies. Will you let it fade into shadows or seize its radiant truth? Dare to uncover the mystery of Axum, or let their silence bury it forever? What if a royal bloodline could prove Black Jesus walks among us? Ethiopia's sacred lineage, from Solomon to Haile Selassie, pulses with a divine truth the West tried to bury. This unbroken chain, forged by Sheba's wisdom and Solomon's seed, flows through Menelik wire to Haile Selassie, the line of Judah. In 2012, DNA confirmed Selassie's link to ancient Israel, a scientific echo of Ethiopia's ancient claim. Hailed as the Anointed One by Rastafari, Selassie mirrors Black Jesus, a prophetic king revered as divine. Yet the West branded Rastafari a cult, twisting their faith through media to dim a king's light. Why? Because this bloodline, carrying the legacy of Black Jesus, threatens their control. Ethiopia's kings, heirs of a divine promise, stand as living proof of a prophecy unbroken. Will you dare to claim this truth, or let their lies steal your heritage forever? But a divine legacy was rising. Ethiopia's royal bloodline, an unbroken thread from Solomon and Sheba, weaves a tapestry of divine destiny. Menelik I, their son, carried the Ark of the Covenant to Ethiopia, establishing a sacred lineage that endured through centuries. This chain, radiant with God's promise, led to Haile Selassie, crowned emperor in 1930 as the Lion of Judah. In 2012, DNA analysis traced his blood to ancient Israel, confirming Ethiopia's claim as heirs of Solomon's throne. Selassie, like Black Jesus, embodied a prophetic king, his reign a beacon of African sovereignty. Rastafari saw him as the Anointed One, their faith echoing the Kebra Nagast prophecy of a king to restore justice. But a shadow of deceit was creeping. The West, fearing this legacy, smeared Rastafari as a cult, using media to distort Selassie's divine role. Why? Because his bloodline, tied to Black Jesus, challenged their narratives of control. Ethiopia's kings, from Menelik to Selassie, carried a truth no empire could erase. Selassie's coronation, witnessed by the world, was a declaration of Africa's divine right. His title, Lion of Judah, linked him to Solomon, to Black Jesus, to a prophecy that shook the heavens. But a deeper truth was stirring. The Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's sacred chronicle, foretold a king from Solomon's line, a figure to redeem the oppressed. Selassie, with his quiet strength, fulfilled this vision, his reign a defiance of colonial chains. Rastafari's worship wasn't blind. It was rooted in Ethiopia's ancient truth, a truth the West sought to bury. Why call it a cult? Because acknowledging Selassie's divinity meant admitting Black Jesus walked in Africa's blood. Ethiopia's royal line, unbroken for millennia, stood as a testament to God's covenant. The 2012 DNA evidence wasn't just science. It was a divine confirmation, a bridge between ancient Israel and modern Ethiopia. But a new challenge was brewing. Selassie's life was a saga of resistance. He faced invasions, exile, and betrayal, yet his faith never wavered. Like Black Jesus, he bore the weight of a divine mission, his crown a symbol of Africa's unbowed spirit. The West media painted him as a relic, a footnote, but Rastafari saw the truth. Selassie was a living prophecy, a king whose blood carried Solomon's promise. Why fear this lineage? Because it proves Black Jesus is no myth, but a reality woven into Ethiopia's heart. The Kebra Nagast's words burn with this truth, a truth Ethiopia guarded while empires fell. But a greater purpose was unfolding. The Lion of Judah wasn't just a title, it was a call to awaken. Selassie's reign inspired millions, from Ethiopia's highlands to Jamaica's shores. But a greater purpose was unfolding. Rastafari's chants, echoing his name, were a rebellion against those who sought to erase Africa's divine role. The West's campaign to discredit him was no accident. It was a strategy to silence a bloodline that linked Solomon, Menelik, and Black Jesus. Why distort his legacy? Because Selassie's DNA, his throne, his faith point to a truth they couldn't control. Ethiopia's royal bloodline is a living flame, a beacon for those who seek justice. But a final reckoning was approaching. The Kebra Nagast prophecy lives in Selassie, a king who stood against empires. His life from coronation to exile was a testament to Ethiopia's sacred role. The West's lies couldn't dim his light. Rastafari kept it alive, their faith a shield against those who called it madness. Why fear a king? Because his blood, confirmed by science, carries the weight of Black Jesus, a Messiah born of Africa's soul. Ethiopia's lineage, from Solomon to Selassie, is no mere history. It's a divine mandate, a call to rise. The 2012 DNA link wasn't just a discovery, it was a revelation, a truth that shook the world. But a final challenge beckons. What flows in the blood of Haile Selassie? The truth of Solomon, Menelik, and Black Jesus, a prophecy the West tried to bury. Why did they call Rastafari a cult? Who fears this royal line's divine power? This legacy shakes empires, defies their lies. Will you let it fade into shadows or seize its radiant truth? Dare to claim your heritage, or let their deception steal it forever. What if Ethiopia holds the key to the final prophecy? For centuries, this ancient land has guarded the Ark of the Covenant, the 81-book Bible, and Solomon's sacred bloodline, truths the West tried to bury. These treasures, pulsing with divine fire, point to a future foretold by Enoch, a time when Black Jesus will return to judge the world. Ethiopia's faith, unbowed by empires, protects the Kebra Nagast, the Ark, and a lineage that stretches from Solomon to Haile Selassie. The Book of Enoch, preserved against Rome's flames, warns of a reckoning led by a Messiah born of Africa's heart. Episode 4 will unveil this African Jesus and a prophecy that could shake the world. You're not just watching, you're inheriting a truth that empires fear. Will you follow its call, or let this prophecy be buried again? But a divine truth was awakening. Ethiopia stands as a fortress of faith, safeguarding treasures no empire could steal. The Ark of the Covenant, radiating God's celestial light, rests in Axum, guarded by monks who've bled for its safety. The 81-book Bible, richer than the West's stripped scriptures, holds truths Rome tried to erase. Solomon's bloodline, flowing through Menelik to Haile Selassie, carries a divine promise unbroken by time. The Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's sacred chronicle, weaves these threads into a prophecy of a king who will restore justice. But a shadow of deceit was looming. The West, fearing Ethiopia's truths, burned Enoch's words and mocked the Kebra Nagast as myth. Why? Because these texts proclaim Black Jesus, a Messiah tied to Africa's royal blood, who will return to judge the nations. Enoch's visions, preserved in Ethiopia's highlands, speak of a final reckoning, a time when the oppressed will rise. Ethiopia's 81-book Bible, unlike the West's 66, includes Enoch, a book that foretells Black Jesus' return in glory. But a deeper mystery was stirring. The Kebra Nagast's prophecy isn't just history, it's a call to the future. Ethiopia, chosen as Zion's heir, guards the Ark, the bloodline, and the scriptures that point to Black Jesus. Haile Selassie, the Lion of Judah, embodied this legacy, his DNA linking him to ancient Israel. Rastafari saw him as divine, a bridge to the Messiah's return. Why did the West call them a cult? Because acknowledging Ethiopia's truths means facing a prophecy they can't control. Episode 4 will reveal this African Jesus, a figure whose roots in Solomon's line shake the world's foundations. But a final reckoning was approaching. Ethiopia's faith is a beacon, its treasures a map to the end times. The Ark, the 81-book Bible, and Solomon's bloodline are no relics, they're living promises. Enoch's words burn with the truth of Black Jesus, a judge who will return to right the wrongs of empires. You're not just a viewer, you're an heir to this prophecy. Episode 4 will uncover a truth that could change everything. Will you let it slip away or seize its fire? But a final challenge beckons. What prophecy waits in Ethiopia's sacred treasures? The Ark, Enoch, and Solomon's bloodline point to Black Jesus, a Messiah the West fears. Episode 4 will unveil an African Jesus who shakes the world. You're not just watching, you're claiming a legacy. Will you let it be buried again or rise to its truth? Don't miss the fire of Episode 4 or let empires silence it forever.